All right, we're going to have a completely straight up honest conversation about money and specifically my money, I guess my lack of money in racking up $7,800 in credit card debt and the steps specifically that I took navigating through that and ultimately escaping that debt. So this started in 2015, right? As it usually does, you get the credit card and I actually had responsible spending. I knew the value in building credit with a credit card. So whatever it is, usually groceries, I'd go out, I'd spend money on groceries and I'm paying this bill off every single month. But doing this completely fine for really a couple of years. In working for a company, moving from here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to San Diego, California, and incurring expenses with that entire move, furniture, whatever it was, all of that stuff. And then shortly after, that startup that I was working for going under and really leaving me high and dry. My fault, of course, not having a financial backup plan and not having extra money to cover those large expenditures with that move. So what happened next was missed payments, as you can imagine. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, and ultimately having charge-offs on that account. Let's go over actually what a charge-off is. So missing these payments, right? 30, 60, 90 days plus, your lender, your bank in this case, right, is going to pursue that amount that you owe, as they should. Now, as they pursue again, 30, 60, these are markers on your credit and your account. As they pursue and you continue to not pay, eventually they'll in essence give up and write it off as what's called a charge-off. Also keep in mind, as I wasn't paying every single month, this is taking a very real hit to my credits. I believe, leaving here in Pittsburgh, I was in the 700s, I believe 720 at the time, and just got crushed, right? 600, mid sixes, 700. I believe at the worst, it might have been the high 500s on my credit. Also keep in mind that the very real damage to your credit score is happening basically every month by not paying. So after it gets to that point where you're not paying and I wasn't paying, then again, your account is falling into that charge off. Now, one thing with this that I was worried about is what about all of the interest on that credit card? I believe it was maybe it was like 25% or so interest on this balance. So one thing that does happen with that charge off is that interest does freeze. But of course, you are still very liable to pay that amount. That is the amount that you spent on that credit card plus that incurring interest up until this charge off. So what happens after this charge off? That lender, in this case, PNC Bank, again, my bank is going to sell off that debt to a collection agency. Now, the thing with collection agencies is they're buying that bad credit, that bad debt, really for cents on the dollar. So I had in total $7,800 of a debt on this credit card. So the collection agency is going to buy that from PNC Bank. Let's say we could guess maybe $800, $900, again, for cents on the dollar. So let's go into what happens when this account does fall into collections. And I'm going over this because this was really more recently, here in late 2020, into 2021, when I really started to experience those aggressive collection calls. Now, as you're getting these calls, if you're skeptical, if you want to make sure it's legit, you can request a debt validation letter that says, hey, yeah, we own this account, we own this debt. Now, here's the thing. Do I need to pay this back? Let's go over this. So keep in mind, I'm not a financial planner, I'm not an attorney, so this is not meant as legal financial advice. So when these collection calls start coming in, just so you know, there's a statute of limitations as far as when you can be sued over this owed amount. That statute of limitations is going to vary by state from 3 to 10 years. For instance, it's 4 years here in Pennsylvania. Now remember, this is the statute of limitations that the collection agency or the original lender, if it hasn't been sold off, can sue you for this amount. that does not mean that they can't continue to pursue this amount after that statute of limitations. Here's a tricky thing with collection calls, and the reason I'm doing this video is to hopefully help you out if you're in a similar scenario. So I'm getting these calls, and I knew it was a charged off account, but obviously I still owed $7,800 from prior. I knew that. So I'm getting these calls. I get a call from a collection agency, and they say, well, you owe this amount. Are you going to pay in full? And obviously their motive, their business is to get you to pay in full. They've already purchased this debt for cents on the dollar. So literally anything that they get from you is profit. Now, there's different strategies with these collection agencies. One being you don't even have to answer, and you don't even have to identify yourself if you happen to pick up. And again, I'll leave more thorough videos and links for you down below in the description. But I wanted to repair some of this, ideally, boost my credit score as well. So I did speak with them, and they said, firstly, will you be paying in full? And I'm thinking, absolutely not. Firstly, I'm not even liquid for it, but I'm trying to do like a monthly installment plan. So we have a little bit of run around, and they say, well, we don't want to do a monthly installment plan, no surprise, but we can close this account today for $2,000 and some dollars. So I say, okay, I'm liquid for that. I can do, 2,000, whatever it is. Is this going to be it? Is it going to close the account today? Are we done after this? And they said, yes. And that was not true. Now, number one, the collection agency was legit, and I saw the total owed amount decrease on my Experian credit report. But months later, I continued to get calls to pay the remaining, $5,400, whatever was remaining off of that total amount. So what you can do in this scenario to avoid that happening, because again, they just want some of your money. They want to get money from this amount owed. You can request a letter of deletion, also called a pay for delete negotiation strategy here. So you're going to say, well, listen, I'll pay this amount if you agree to remove this reporting, this file, what have you, from my credit history. So again, this is why I'm hoping that this provides value for you. I'll leave an article linked down below for a template for that letter of deletion. So now here we are with really three options. This amount went back to my bank, and now the original lender, PNC Bank here in Pennsylvania, is requesting a new option to settle. So I just got this letter that is, again, from PNC Bank. It is not the collection agency anymore. So this is officially from PNC Bank. And they said, like I just kind of mentioned here, you still owe $5,000 and some dollars on it, but we will settle. So specifically, it reads, we are willing to settle this debt for you for less than you owe. If you call us to pay $1,083.45 by August 28th, 2021, we will accept this amount as full and final settlement of your account. Then it continues down below as far as what happens if you accept this settlement. It says, when your payment clears, we will consider your account settled and all collection activities on your account will stop. We will take all necessary steps to close out the account, including releasing our lien within a reasonable amount of time if the loan is secured by collateral. So a big tip for you, something in writing. This is from my bank. It's not from the collections agency. Now, I did get letters from the collection agency, but nothing that officially said, again, a letter of deletion, nothing like that, that it is finalized, that it's removed from my credit history. So we have a settlement offer with my bank. So let's go over the three options that I have or you would have in this scenario. Option number one is paying this off in full, because remember, this is a settlement offer from my bank. So what if I just paid the entire amount owed? This would be marked as a paid charge off, because remember, my account, that's currently what it's called, it's charged off. Now, this may be seen as more favorable than just simply not paying it off at all if you have a paid charge off. Option number 2, we can take this. I could settle the remaining amount. Remember, my credit was already hit. It was hit when I didn't pay, and it's basically in limbo. Now, I still owe that amount, right? But the lender, PNC, is willing to settle. Now, there's no obligation to settle, but it would stop the collection activities and finalize permanently and close this account. Now, the third option, you could refuse the settlement. You could continue to refuse to pay anything on the owed amount. Now, remember, you could be sued for that remainder of the amount, either through the original lender or through that collections agency. Now, there is, remember, that statute of limitations, 3 to 10 years, varying by state for when you might get sued. But again, the actual pursuit of that open debt will continue and can continue past that statute of limitations. And if you refuse to pay, that may affect, and most likely will affect, your ability to get a mortgage if you want to purchase a home, any kind of loans, or future credit lines and credit cards. So having dealt with this defunct account since 2015, and now having some liquidity to at least do something about this account, here's what I'm going to do. Now, I would like to stop the collection calls because they're pretty annoying. Now, I pick up 0 of them. I ignore all of them, but I will get a call at least once or twice a day. So this will fall off your credit history after 7 years. Now, with that letter of deletion or the pay for delete method, this would be removed a lot faster. So if I could accept this settlement and have PNC Bank or the collection group, what have you, remove this much faster than 7 years, I see benefit in that. And primarily the reason for getting it off of your credit history is really 2 things. I mean, firstly, I want to open another credit card. I want to get the boost from, paying off a credit card responsibly. And I can't really do that right now. Number 2, it's the hit from my credit utilization. Credit utilization is something that also really heavily goes into your FICO credit scores. So for me, my credit utilization on this defunct account is 60%. So on this account, I owe $5,417 remaining. And the credit limit on this account was $9,000. So I'm utilizing 60% of that credit. You really want to aim for a 10 to 20% credit utilization. Again, I'm at 60. Now, let's say your account was in good standing. You could request a higher credit limit. That would, of course, reduce the percent of your credit utilization. So that is the strategy. It's taking this settlement, it's stopping the collection calls, it's hopefully immediately getting this account off of my credit history. It's being able to open new credit cards and really further accelerate my credit score, which is actually nicely now built back up to in the 700s. So clearly the best strategy is to not get into credit card debt in the first place. I mean, this has been a years-long process to finally now be in a scenario and actually just understanding my legal options here as far as getting out from under that $7,800 of credit card debt. So I hope this video provided you value. If it did, definitely drop me a like. And you can also click or tap screen here for my newest video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.